I recently got approached about a job opportunity in the UAE. And despite being very against it at first, I am now excited to say that I'm thrilled to be moving there. I wanted to walk you through what happened to me and my thought process, and the fact that a lot of my initial thoughts and considerations were based on stereotypes as opposed to factual information. To start, I'll share a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Kazakhstan and moved to Canada 10 years ago. I went to university for 5 years. I studied commerce and I did a number of co-ops, and then I had 5 years of work experience in a business analyst sort of role. Additionally, last year I got my Canadian passport, and with all that combined, I believe I had quite a few options in terms of moving around the world, be it for job opportunities, schooling, or whatever else. I just kind of thought that I would end up in somewhat more of a moderate climate. When we're talking about UAE, I think the first point that comes in, the first shiny object, is the compensation. We'll start with the fact that when you're getting paid in dirhams, you're essentially getting paid in US dollars, because dirham is pegged to US dollar. $1 equals 3.67 dirhams, and that doesn't change. So that's artificially pegged to US dollars, and therefore you're essentially getting paid in US dollar equivalent. Additionally, they have 0% income tax, probably the most popular point in the UAE and why people are moving there. That's a substantial amount if you're coming from US, Canada, or Europe. That's very, very substantial amount. They do have sales tax at 5%, which I think is pretty good. It used to be 0, I believe, 4 years ago or so, but it is 5% now. So cost of living wise, I'll put this link. Someone has put in a number of different products, and you can scroll through and see how much more expensive they are compared to where you're from. Overall, I think in 2 words, rent is expensive. You're looking at $2,000 to $2,500 US dollars a month, and alcohol is also expensive. When I first got the message about this opportunity from the recruiter, I almost pushed it away, thinking like, yes, I don't want to live in a desert. I've got my experience, I've got my passport. I just want to live somewhere, moderate climate. But one of my friends encouraged me to, just have a chat with the recruiter and, find out more. And I'm very grateful for him. And I think that's generally a very good advice in terms of any opportunities. It's always worth having a chat. It doesn't cost all that much, and at the very least, you're just having a conversation with another person. After having a chat, I got a little bit more interested. I still wasn't sold on the role. For me, it was a lateral move. So it wasn't a roll up, it was a lateral move from senior analyst position to senior analyst equivalent position. I wasn't as excited. I was hoping initially that it may be a move up, but it wasn't. So it was interesting to me, wasn't yet sold, but also in the next week after that, first interview or first chat, as you wish, I had a chance to do a little bit of research and talk to a few people who actually lived there. And what I found is that my friends who live there actually speak very highly of the place. There's lots of expats, there's lots of things to do. AC is obviously everywhere. I've been in Dubai myself over a decade ago, and there's AC in the bus stops, in cars, in every building there is. They have artificial islands, they have indoor ski hills, they have the tallest building in the world, they have the Formula 1 track, the Ferrari world is there. So they're obviously doing quite a bit within their domain in terms of building attractions, building a cool city, both in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. It appears that there's a good amount of things to do. There's a good amount of expats. That's something that excited me. I do think that would be a cool environment. Overall, when you look at stats, 85 or 90% of the people there are expats. I looked a little bit more into kind of what people have to say in terms of daily life and whatnot. And generally, all the things are pretty positive, despite some of their laws still being relatively harsh, which is, again, just words on paper because I haven't been there yet. In main cities like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and even Dubai more so, the laws are fairly chill. So they know they're trying to attract the tourist. It's not as harsh as it seems. Obviously, I think this would be a place where you're not going to try to push your luck. You're not going to try to argue about the laws. So obviously, I think that comes with this country, right? You're not in the United States. You're not in Canada. You're not going to be trying to argue with the policeman that, whatever you're doing is fine. They're pretty harsh with some laws, it does depend. You can drink alcohol, no issues there. You can live with a partner without being married. So I think that's ever since 2018, that's no longer illegal. So that's a good thing. So you can live with your girlfriend, for example, without actually being married. Previously, I know this was illegal. So I was like, that was good to find. But I would say this is the place where you want to be familiar with the laws, even if they're chill in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, because it's just something that I wouldn't want to cross a line there and get into a bunch of trouble and then get deported and all sorts of things like that. So I'd want to do everything to, be conscious of their rules, be mindful of their religion. So what I also found is during the holy months of Ramadan, even so the foreigners and expats are obviously allowed to eat and drink, whatever, but it's a common courtesy to not do it in public, in person. Restaurants would have tinted windows and whatnot for those people who are eating throughout the day. So that seems perfectly reasonable to me. I think that's a normal custom to be just respectful of the culture that you're joining. So this happened all over a period of a week or two when I first kind of had a chat with the recruiter, and then kind of had a chat with a few of my friends, did some Google search, and I realized, okay, this is actually, it's not bad. It essentially, for me, sort of in my mind flipped from like, I don't want to live in the desert, to this would be a pretty exciting opportunity to check out a new culture, to check out a new place. The areas around there as well are quite interesting to me. So as I mentioned, I am in Canada right now. I had a good chance to check out a big part of West Coast US, Mexico, kind of anything that's close around there, and Canada as well. So I was excited to see that Europe was relatively close, within, call it 6 hours, maybe 7, depending where you want to go. Things like Thailand were about 10-hour flight. There's a lot of Africa and Middle East, which has phenomenal places to see and phenomenal historic sites that would be very, very cool to check out. So all of a sudden, this became an appealing opportunity. I'm gonna put a few links down in the description on the cost of living. There's the HSBC report of kind of like breaks down different aspects of living in the UAE and what you should know. And anything else I might think of. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll put in another video regarding the interview specifics and the timeline, because it did take super, super, super long, in my opinion, to actually go from, hey, they reached out, to I'm starting the job.